So I've been seeing a lot of these tweets, the 4 biggest clubs in the entire world, and that got me thinking, how about let's rank the top 30 biggest clubs in the world? It's gonna be great, we're gonna share some knowledge, we're gonna get abuse thrown towards me, which is gonna fill my masochist need, it's gonna be fantastic. So here's the tier list itself. The 30 teams were given to me, so we're just going to be putting them on this list. And if you guys want to join in, I've put the link to this tier list in the description down below. Now before I start, there's going to be 3 things I'm going to mention. The number 1 thing is that the S tier is made for the top 4 clubs. Number 2 is that S, A, and B tier are going to be comprised of 10 total teams, meaning the other 20 teams are going to be C, D, E, and F. I just want this big line between the top 10 clubs and then virtually everyone else. Lastly, this is a tier list comparing the top 30 clubs against each other, not against everyone else in the world. So if I put a team in the F tier, for example, that doesn't mean they're not big, that just means that they're not as big compared to the teams above them. All right, clear as mud? Cool, let's go get it. Let's start with the easiest things on this list. We're going to be going ahead and putting Real Madrid and Barcelona in the S tier. That is the singular thing that everyone can agree on, and if somehow you don't, you do not know what you're talking about. The next 2 choices are tough because, like I said, there's only 4 teams I'm putting in S tier, and that means there's 4 different teams we can choose from for the last 2 spots. Now, honestly, the teams I'm talking about can really just be switched with each other, so even if you don't agree and you want one of the other teams in the S tier, I get it and I agree with you. So this is what we have. Bayern and United fill up the rest of the A tier, with Liverpool and AC Milan in the A tier. So United over Liverpool is because even though they have very similar titles, they had similar runs. The thing that I think United has over Liverpool is global reach. I think the 3rd biggest club is United in terms of just global reach, their fan base is just because, again, that global reach is just a little bit more, which is a thing because it's the biggest clubs in the world. We're putting them in S tier over Liverpool. In terms of Bayern over AC Milan, again, very similar. Trophy amount is very similar. In terms of UCLs, AC Milan has 7, Bayern Munich has 6. The one thing that I think Bayern does have over AC Milan is that Bayern have won 2 trebles. Again, though, if you want to switch out Bayern, United, Liverpool, and AC Milan and just kind of choose what you want, again, I totally agree. It is completely up for debate in that case. Now, I do have one last team putting in A tier, and that is going to be Ajax. I do think that they deserve to be there. They've won 4 Champions Leagues, 3 of them in a row. They're the most dominant team in the Netherlands, winning the most leagues and the most Dutch Cups. But the most impressive things are the players that they've produced. We're talking Bergkamp, Kluivert, Van der Sar, Seedorf, Alderweireld, Wesley Sneijder, Donny van de Beek, Klaassen, Eriksson, Van Basten, Johan Cruyff is up there. And keep in mind, these are just from their actual academy. They still developed other players like Luis Suarez, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Like, they have been ridiculous. To me, it's pretty clear. They deserve to be in A tier. Finally, for the last 3 teams making up the top 10, we are going to be going with Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, and Juventus. Yes, Juventus are the most dominant team in Italy. I get that, but how many scandals have they been a part of? Not just in the past, but recently as well. However, they have won a few Champions Leagues, and being in Italy, they are the most dominant team, having nearly double the amount of league titles compared to anyone else. Like, even if you're cheating, if you have double the amount of league titles, like that says something. That's meaningful at that point. For Inter Milan, they are obviously a successful team in Italy domestically, and they've won the UCL as well, but one of the most iconic teams of all time is the treble winning side of 2010 with Wesley Sneijder, Julio Cesar, Maicon, Jose Mourinho. I think with all of those factors, they do deserve to be in the top 10. Lastly, we have Dortmund, and this one's odd because a lot of it is fan support. Yes, Dortmund are obviously successful in Germany, but they're not the 2nd most successful. That's Nuremberg. What sets Dortmund apart from almost every other team on this list is their fan support, arguably to the point where that alone could put them in S tier. So you add in all of the trophies that they've won, including a Champions League, you add in a Ballon d'Or winner that they had, you add in the outrageous fan support, that means they have to be in the top 10. So that makes up the top 10. That means every other team on here is up for debate in the C tier or lower, and if you see your team on here, I'm sorry. Let's just actually move on to my favorite team, Arsenal. They are my favorite team. I think they're putting in C tier, right? In terms of trophies, in terms of the players they've produced, it's obviously fantastic, but there's one major thing missing: a Champions League. If Arsenal win a Champions League very soon, I think they easily do make the top 10 list, but they haven't. So they're not. And I get Champions Leagues aren't everything, but seriously, Arsenal have not won one single one compared to everyone else on the top 10 list, which has at least won one. Funny enough, I think Atletico Madrid are actually very similar in that regard. Again, they haven't won a Champions League, but they're still a very big club, probably the 3rd most successful in Spain. Again, very similar to Arsenal in that regard, so C tier. Let's go with the Portuguese league. We have Porto and Benfica. Both are going in the C tier. They both won Champions Leagues. They are both extremely successful in their respective fields, and similar to Ajax, the players they've produced, kind of ridiculous. You know, we're kind of just working our way down. How about let's go all the way down into the F tier? Schalke's in there, Galatasaray's in there, Rangers are in there. Schalke might be a little bit harsh, but again, no Champions League. They have been successful, but 2 recent relegations. Maybe that's a 2 recency bias, I'm not sure. Galatasaray, arguably the biggest team in Turkey, but I mean, look at their coefficient at the moment, 12th best league in the world. By the way, they actually were 20th and they just moved up 8 spots. That's right, the Turkish league was 20th in the world. So being very successful in a not great league doesn't really mean a whole lot. Okay, so that guy, yeah, dumbass, because he didn't know that UEFA Cup is actually the Europa League, and that 2000 Galatasaray actually won a Europa League treble. So, you know, they're not an F tier. They're at the very bare minimum of E tier, because also their fans are ridiculous. So, yeah. Again, just dumbass. At least to me, which is why we also have Rangers down there. And I get, even though it's the biggest rivalry in the entire world, the trophies amount are the exact same, and that league in general is not good. Like, the last winner that wasn't Celtic or Rangers was Aberdeen back in 1984, which was Sir Alex Ferguson. So while we're on the topic of the Scottish League, does Celtic belong down there? Absolutely not. I'm torn between D and E. Their history, man. Oh, their history. They won a treble. Like, they won a treble, man. Now we're looking into the nitty gritty. What matters more? The last 20 years, the 20 years before that, the entire history? I think I put them in D tier just because, again, the past 20 years, I get that's recent. That's not like it's everything, but it's 20 years, man. That's like 20 years is not nothing, and they haven't been like it again. It's just, leave me alone. It's D tier. Speaking of that whole 20 years thing, that's why we're also going to be putting Chelsea in the C tier. They've won 2 Champions Leagues. They've won the Premier League a handful of times. They've won the FA Cup a lot. I get it was like a whole money thing, right? But like 20 years is not nothing. And they also won a handful of trophies before as well. It's not like they were Leipzig that just got bought and immediately rose up, right? They had some small bit of history. And while that's the same for City and PSG, I'm actually gonna be putting them in D tier because, again, it's not 20 years, it's been, what, 10? And also, PSG, where the hell is your Champions League? What's that about? You're booing Messi? What the hell is that about? With that in mind, let's talk about Marseille. They are absolutely in C tier. They've won the Champions League, the only French team to do so. They have arguably as many titles as PSG before they were bought out by this guy. So this is my official stance, I guess. Marseille is absolutely bigger than PSG. And since we're talking about French clubs anyway, let's just finish off that league. Lyon and Monaco, I'm both putting in E tier. They have a good amount of trophies. Lyon does too, but Lyon, real quick, they have 7 league titles. You want to know when they won them? In the early 2000s. 7 years in a row. Those are their only league titles. I could even put like Monaco down to F, Schalke up to E. Schalke 2 relegations is a lot. I am questioning myself now. All right, can we just do an easy one? Tottenham, E tier. Like, yeah, they've won stuff. Yeah, that's why they're on here. But comparatively, no, come on. I mean, Everton could be above Tottenham. It's just their past 20 years, they've been mediocre. Yes, occasionally top 4. They've gone 5th, 6th, 7th. I mean, they were good. They were good for so long. What happened to them? And because of that, I feel like they got to be in E tier. 4 teams left. They could all very well be in C tier, but do I want to do that? I kind of do, because I don't want to get yelled at, but I feel like I shouldn't. All right, let's think this through. Trophy-wise, they deserve to be at D tier for these teams, right? I think they've won less than everyone else in C tier. Okay, I think I'm gonna make an ignorant choice here. I'm putting Napoli in D tier. I think that one, I don't know enough about the club itself. I looked them up. Trophy-wise, they've won like 3 titles. I know they have a passionate fan base. If you look at the pictures from their parade, it's ridiculous, right? Especially the streets after they actually just like sealed the title. Also, I know I'm putting a lot of emphasis on trophies, but like I feel like you have to if you're a top 30 club. Okay, I made a decision at least about the Spanish teams. I think I'm putting them both in D tier. They're not great in Spain. Sevilla's only won 1 league title. Valencia's won 6, which is good, but I think that's 5th on the list. And while Sevilla's only won 1 league title, like I mentioned, they've won 7 Europa Leagues, which it's not a Champions League, but 7 Europa Leagues. But in terms of the fan bases and the support, I don't really know enough about it, I don't think. So someone should please inform me about that. Okay, I made my decision. I'm putting Roma in C tier, similar to the Dortmund thing, right? Because trophy-wise, they've won a few. They've produced a couple of great players, obviously, again, Francesco Totti. But I'm really believing in their fan support, right? Similar to Dortmund. That's why I'm putting them up there. So Yeah. So that is going to do it for this tier list. If I made any major snafus, please tell me. You know, I think I got mostly everything all right. Maybe a team here and there could go up a tier or down a tier, but everything I feel like is somewhat fair. But even if it's not a major snafu, please let me know, because teams like Valencia, Sevilla, Napoli, I don't really know a lot about these teams. And if you're a fan of them or you have knowledge about them, please let me know, because I love learning about them. Let me just go ahead, add a row below. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. Again, I put the link to this tier list in the description down below if you guys want to try it out, and then just at me on Twitter, and that way we can have this discussion even further. But like I said, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you later. Peace.